Jake Wheel, and I live and die for hip-hop. So as I've been doing this show over the dozen or so episodes that I've racked up so far, I've noticed one common theme throughout the 90s is that it's actually really hard to find any artist or band who has really actually managed to remain relevant throughout the 90s. And by that I mean someone who came up in the early 90s and was still somehow able to maintain their popularity throughout the end of the 90s. Yeah, most of them, even the really successful ones, were not able to sustain a career for that long. So most of the stuff that was popular in the very early part of the 90s, most cases burnt out in spectacular fashion before the decade was even halfway over. And then as far as the stuff that was actually popular towards the end of the decade, mostly took a really long time to get there. And this group I'm about to cover today, Naughty by Nature, is one of the few exceptions to that rule. Naughty by Nature was a rap group from East Orange, New Jersey. They called it Illtown, comprised of two rappers, Tretch and Vin Rock, and the DJ producer was KG. And they came from around the same area of New Jersey that Queen Latifah came out of. She kind of became their mentor. They benefited from the success and the wisdom and knowledge of Queen Latifah up there in the early 90s. She appeared in a lot of their videos and actually did guest raps on their first album. And they broke through in 1991 with this song, OPP.
Get out with OPP! Yeah, you know me! Who's down with OPP? Every line's on me! Get out with OPP!
So I knew what rap was prior to this. This was the first rap song that I ever really got into. I was in second grade. It was 1991, so that would have been about the age that I was. And I thought rap was okay prior to this. You know, there had been a few songs that I might have enjoyed a little bit. Didn't really feel like my music up until I heard this song, and this song really got me into rap for the first time. And I think I know why. So this song is built on a sample from the Jackson 5 song ABC. This is at the height of my fandom of Michael Jackson and Jackson 5, so I think making that connection to hip-hop for the first time was able to make this music really resonate with me, and I recognized what it was capable of beyond just a few bars of rhymes and a few samples and beats. And they pulled it together in this song and came up with one of the all-time greatest hip-hop hooks and came up with something really infectious that crossed over. Really, all kinds of fans of music were able to enjoy this. This wasn't just making rap music for the hip-hop heads anymore. This was for everyone.
Hey, drop a load on 'em.
You know, and those piano chords are just so lively, jubilant. I couldn't help but get into it. So I don't mean to be crude on this show or anything, but when I was a kid, you know, my friend tried to explain to me, I remember my friend who got me into the song, shout out to him, he tried to explain to me that OPP stands for other people's property, but I still didn't really get it. When I listened to the song, it seemed like it was about relationships or people having problems in their relationships, and I was sort of on the right track. It wasn't until I think I got a little bit older that I realized, oh, they're actually referring to other people's private parts. I mean, yeah, that's OPPP. You're not down with that. This entire song is Tretch rhyming every verse, by the way, and Tretch was probably one of the more skilled lyricists to hit the mainstream. He had a very Rakim-like flow, I think, and he just kind of rides the beat on every single verse. There's rarely a moment where he's stopping to take a breath. A lot of people probably tried to rap along this at the time and just couldn't keep up. I mean, you'd run out of breath before you get to any of these raps. His lyrics are coming out so fast and hard, and I think that was the other part of it that hooked me beyond the Jackson 5 connection.
It's not a front, F to the R to the O to the N to the T. It's just some boyfriends out of house. Oh, that's what she's getting.
Yeah, so you can hear how rapid those syllables are coming out. There were very few rappers who were rhyming this quickly, you know, as far as rap songs that made it on the radio, unless they were some kind of novelty like Das EFX or Fushnikins or something, where that was their whole gimmick, was rapping this quickly. He was actually trying to rap while still having lyrics that were comprehensible, while still having a meaning that was clear.
Who's down with OPP? A scab tried to OPP me. I had a girl and she...
But the production here, I think, is minimalist enough, and it's just catchy enough, and it has enough different elements in it to keep it interesting. But it definitely has that vibe of something that came out of the early 90s, but in a good way. And for a song that's really, on the surface, it's not even necessarily just about being a cheater, it's about going out of your way to find people who are already in relationships to cheat with. But for a song with such, I guess, sordid subject matter, it's there's just something about it that sounds so innocent and fun to me for some reason. And it probably is due to the Michael Jackson sample, but in the end, it's a party jam. And that ended up being Naughty by Nature's greatest strength. They could do a lot of different types of rap songs, but the one that made them famous, that kept them relevant in the spotlight throughout the entire decade of the 90s, was the party jam. That was their signature, and it was their identity. That song's from Naughty by Nature's first album called Naughty by Nature, released in 1991. Their next big hit was from their second album called 1993, and this song's called Hip Hop Hooray.
Give it up for Naughty by Nature!
And this kind of shows actually a very strong evolution of rap from 1991 to 1993. The production here, I think, is a lot more full, a lot more hard and forceful. Yeah, and if it wasn't enough that they had already come up with one of rap's most earwormy, infectious, impossible to get out of your head choruses with their last big hits, they went ahead and just dropped another one in this one. And
Hey ho, hey ho. Hip hop hooray!
and this time it was propelled by more of a funky, bass-heavy groove, I think.
You drew a picture on my morning, but you couldn't make my day. I'm rocking and you're yawning, but you never look my way.
This is Vin Rock rapping. He didn't rap at all in the other song. He did probably backup vocals in the chorus, but that was it. And then Tretch comes in. Him and Tretch kind of trade off verses and bars in this song. They're both very skilled MCs, but I think Tretch was the standout.
I live in top of hip hop. This is hip hop of today. I give props to hip hop, so hip hop hooray! Ho!
So Naughty by Nature's intent with this song, it's another party jam, but this time instead of being about cheating couples, this one's about the whole legacy of hip-hop that they've been building and shouting out to a lot of the people who helped them in their way.
Peace to this one and that one and them. That's why I shout out and I didn't miss one friend.
There's shout-outs to Cypress Hill, the whole Illtown crew, Tribe Called Quest, Nice and Smooth.
That's right, my fight is ill. Peace to LONS and Quest, nice and smooth and Cypress Hill.
One of my biggest memories of Naughty by Nature at this time was that they actually recorded a special version of Hip Hop Hooray. In the early 90s, the NBA collaborated with record labels to put out these videos that were just basically highlight package reels of some of the NBA's biggest stars at the time, and they put them to songs or whatever music the label wanted to promote at that time. Naughty by Nature were such big basketball fans that they actually recorded their own version of their hit song that people already knew called Hip Hoop Hooray. This is a NBA specific version.
Oh, the NBA! Ho! Hey! Ho!
Yep, that's the NBA. So many 90s NBA guys in this video. Shaq is in it. Alonzo Mourning.
It's an action to turn it back with the hands. To kill him, no, I have no problem. I'll leave you alive. Alonzo Mourning sort of rob anybody's squad.
Oh yeah, these guys were from New Jersey, so they got some shout outs to some New Jersey Nets players in here.
Dum, 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 dum.
Naughty by Nature's next album came out in 1995. This was the most successful single from it. It's called Feel Me Flow.
Here we go now. If you hear me, oh, come and feel me flow.
And it's again another party anthem, still going with the feel-good vibes of the 90s. This one, I think, sounds a little more G-Funk influenced. This is from their third album, Poverty's Paradise. You can hear kind of those G-Funk synths in the background.
All we wanna know is if your body wanna party. It's the poop tang tang for everybody.
We got in a lot of trouble for listening to this song in 8th grade, I remember, because of that line. So when Naughty by Nature did a song for the movie Juice back in 1992, Tretch made a cameo in that movie, which starred Tupac. This is Naughty by Nature's tribute to Tupac after he died, called More Until I Join You.
Tours over, we were out. Yeah, then you called with the news. You was over in New York to film this movie called Juice.
This is more of their serious side coming out on one of their singles. You know, there were a lot of these tribute songs coming out for dead rappers around the 90s because they seemed to be dropping like flies left and right.
They was blinded when the good shine through. They were on you. Just know I'm gonna warn you till I join you.
So in between Naughty by Nature albums, their producer and DJ KG went and produced for a lot of other artists. He put together tracks and beats for them. This is one of them he did for the R&B group Jeanne called Groove Thang.
We're gonna give you what you want, just as long as you're around. It's a groove thing.
Sometimes you can hear a little bit more R&B influence in Naughty by Nature's beats anyway, and this is an example of where they actually put it to use with an R&B group on vocals. And it wasn't as big as Jeanne's other hit, Hey Mr. DJ, but I do remember hearing this one played quite a bit. You might also know this other song that was produced by KG for the R&B group Next later in the 90s. It's called Too Close.
Feels alright. Real, real. Feels you know.
always found this song kind of creepy.
Step back, you dancing, come close. I feel a little pull.
Yeah, next, maybe you are too close. Maybe you should actually back up. Finally, we come to the end of the 90s. This track was released from the group's 1999 album, 1999, Nature's Fury, and this track is called Jamboree. It actually features Jeanne on vocals in the chorus. And the hook here isn't quite as inspired as some of the other ones that they did earlier than that, but you know, it's still decent, and the song was still a big hit. And I guess that's Jeanne doing the female vocals in the background.
I know I jam. Well, I'll jam. Why don't you jamboree for me? Yes, indeed.
Seems they could have come up with something better for them to sing. Well, Tretch is still flowing like a pro. He always brought it.
I ask the thugs who have mercy in these days that's dirty. I'm still sturdy and flirty to my derby for Jersey.
So yeah, Naughty by Nature managed to remain consistently popular throughout the 90s. They never really fell off until after the 90s were over. I'm not quite sure whether they would have still been able to maintain their popularity after that. I think maybe the game had just changed too much. Jamboree does have the makings of a song that kind of screams that it's like the last hit song that this band's going to have. And they never were really the most popular rap group in the world, even at their peak. But, I mean, OPP, anyone who was around at the time remembers it. There's no way that you were going to forget a song like that. It just kind of burrows deep within you, and it kind of signifies a certain period in time to when you hear it. And that's what the best music does from any era. And I'm not sure if this is unique to the 90s or not. I'm sure almost every decade has, you know, ebbs and flows, or has certain trends or sounds from the early part of the decade doesn't always last until the end of the decade. And it's just 10 years is just a long time to remain popular, but somehow they managed to do it. And believe me, it is very hard to find a 90s group who actually were popular throughout the decade and managed to maintain that popularity without falling off in a major way or becoming a punchline almost, becoming a joke by the time the decade is wrapped up. But they pulled it off. So I guess you have to respect that, and we'll just have to see which artists that were popular at the start of this decade still managed to hang around towards the end of it. Well, I'm the Jake Whale, and this was Bad 90s Music. I'll see you sometime in the future.